Hello, my name is Ruben. I am a tutor from the Giro Pro at my Rio Bravo Middle School, and today we're going to go over some math concepts from the 8th grade math classes. The name of this lesson is called Exponents with Negative Bases. So the objective of this video is to increase your knowledge towards the exponents, multiplication with negative numbers, and other operations. From experience, these concepts are essential to understand to become more successful in high school algebra 1. What we're going to do is to see what do we know about negative numbers and exponents and apply exponents to negative numbers. So let's see what it means when we have a negative 2 raised to the first power. This means that we're just going to take a negative 2 and there's nothing else to multiply it. So the answer for this is just going to be equal to negative 2. Now what happens if you were to raise it to a negative 2 and raise it to the second power? That will be equivalent to taking 2 of the negative 2's. So we have negative 2 times a negative 2. We multiply them together. So what is the answer? So we know that when multiplying a negative times a negative, it becomes a positive number. So the answer should be a positive 4. So now let's do a negative 3 and raise it to the third power. What's going to be the answer? So we are going to take 3 of the negative 2's and multiply them together. So we are multiplying a negative times a negative. It becomes a positive again. But since we have another negative, then your final answer should be a negative. Now 2 times 2 is equal to 4. 4 times 2 is equal to 8. So your final answer should be negative 8. Let's do another example. If we were to raise a negative 2 to the fourth power, we should get a negative 2 times a negative 2 times a negative 2 times a negative 2, correct? So based on the previous examples, we have two positives and your answer should be a positive 16. So probably you might have noticed a pattern here. Based on the previous results, whenever we had a even exponent, our results will be a positive number, right? And whenever we had a odd exponent, our result will eventually be a negative number. And that is correct. That is because when you multiply a negative number an even number of times, a negative times a negative, it becomes a positive. Now, if you take a negative base and raise it to an odd power, you will get a negative number. And we know because when we take the product of a negative to a negative, it becomes a positive. But since we have another negative, the final answer becomes a negative. This is nothing new about multiplying with negative numbers. If you still have any trouble with multiplying negative numbers, you can always get more information at tutor.com with with your school information. Now, on the next slide, there is one other thing I want to clarify. Sometimes there might be some common mistakes made based on how the problem is presented. If someone that writes negative 2 to the third power, do you think this will be equal to parentheses negative 2 to the third power? The only difference is the parentheses, right? So based on your other operations, pandas, you should really be thinking about the exponents first. In this case, we're gonna take 3 out of the 2's So we have 2 times 2 times 2. So since we have a negative 1 in the front, negative 1, that will make our final answer negative 8. Because we have 2 times 2 equals 4, 4 times 2 equals 8, and 8 times negative 1 equals to negative 8. So on the right side, most of the time this will be interpreted on the right side. We have going to be parenthesis negative 2 to the third power, in which in this case is how it looks: negative 2 times a negative 2 times a negative 2, right? So we will have negative 2 times a negative 2 equals a positive 4. Positive 4 times a negative 2 equals negative 8. Therefore, in this case, we will have negative 8 equals to negative 8. So when in this case we have the same answer. But what if I told you, what if we have an even exponent? What if we have a negative 2 to the second power and parenthesis negative 2 to the second power? In this case, on the left side, based on the order of operations, we will do the exponent, which is 2 times 2. Then we multiply by a negative 1. And on the left side, we will have a negative 2 times a negative 2, which we will have a positive 4. So on the left side, we're going to have a negative 4, and the right side, we're going to have a positive 4. So therefore, this will not be equal to. And that's where you have to be careful with the even exponents. The only difference is the negatives. It's important to understand your order operation properly so you can avoid these types of mistakes. So in this video, we learn about exponents with negative bases. We went over exponents. We went over to order operations, and we discussed multiplication with negative numbers. So remember to be careful when multiplying with negative numbers. If you already mastered in this math lesson, you will become successful in high school algebra. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching this video. If you still have any questions or concerns about this topic, please visit tutor.com to obtain more information. Thank you very much and be safe.